Good morning, everyone. It's just a few minutes before 11 o'clock Central, and we're going to be getting started here in just a few minutes. You just want to, if you haven't joined our previous webinars, you just might want to familiarize yourself with the webinar interface. The best way to be able to share and ask questions would be to utilize the Q&A section. So by all means, please go ahead and familiarize yourself with that. Get that squared away. We're going to be able to jump in here in just a quick minute. We are going to be talking about angel management today. If you have two screens and you want to follow along with your campaign, you can do that. But we'll be kind of walking through what it means to take an angel from the admin approved state when it's ready to go all the way through being able to allocate that angel on. So we're gonna get started here in just a minute or two. I'll just give it a few people coming in. I know it's Friday. I know we've got Bible conference happening in the Southern Territory. Bonus points to any of you who are joining from Lake Junaluska there in North Carolina. But just a few other kind of housekeeping issues or housekeeping things that we want to highlight. As most of you know, but just in case you're new this year, your best path to get some discussions or some questions answered is to send an email to support@tsam.org. That's going to be your best kind of path forward. That's going to be the best way for you to be able to move forward with getting those questions answered in the quickest way possible. I know sometimes other people have other paths, sending emails directly to team members on Data Paradigm. But really the best way to kind of to do that and to track that is to send that support email in. Last week we had two webinars. We talked about campaign management and setup, as well as applicant management. And so we will be circulating those videos as well as the two videos from today early next week, and you'll be able to review them and listen to my voice for hours on end, should you so choose. And so we'll have a good time reviewing those, but those will be available next week. I know we've gotten a few questions about that. We have, this is our third of 4 webinars, again, talking about angel management. And then we have our last one later this afternoon at 3 o'clock Central. Please, that is going to cover two things. It's going to cover the WellSky integration, which will only take about 10 to 12 minutes. At the very beginning, we'll go over that. That is the HMIS system that's utilized in the Central and the West to varying degrees. And so we'll just kind of touch base on how this module works with that external system. And so by all means, we'll cover that this afternoon. And then we're going to answer your questions. And so that this afternoon will be as involved and as beneficial as you make it. So come here, bring your questions, bring your strategy questions that you'd like to have. So we'll be able to get that squared away. Again, if you want to submit those questions ahead of time to kind of make sure they get answered there at the beginning, you can send those questions to support@tsam.org, and we'll get those kind of categorized. Otherwise, we'll just utilize the old-fashioned Q&A section of the webinar, of the web interface, this Teams interface, to be able to get those questions answered. So we're going to spend that this afternoon and get you squared away. So we're going to go ahead and jump in and just our wonderful Teams things and our teams working to get kind of our mics turned off. But if you happen to have unmuted yourself, go ahead and mute yourself. We've all been doing this whole virtual meeting thing for a really long time, but I think our team's got that squared away. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. I think we are at 2 minutes after the hour, so I think we've allowed kind of our stragglers on this Friday to come in. But we are talking about angel management, right? So we're not talking about applicants, and hopefully you guys can see my screen. I'm sharing that. If you can't, go ahead and submit something in the Q&A section, and we'll be able to kind of troubleshoot that for you as we can. So we're going to kind of cover a few things. We're going to start in our angel records, right? So the module itself kind of has, think of it as Russian nesting dolls, right? If you want to manage the family as a whole, that's going to be managed under your applicants. If you are managing managing the angels, that's going to be obviously under the angel records. Now, this is going to be both your standard angels, what I say standard, that's maybe typical, your kids, as well as your senior angels, as well as your special care angels, right? So all of these angels all fall under this angel records. So let's dive in here and let's just quickly touch base on what this report looks like and what that means. So again, just a few reminders as we jump into TSAM. Anything that's blue is clickable. It may open something, it may sort something. So all these headers here that you see can be sorted as desired. So if you wanted to sort and group all of your genders together, you can do that simply by clicking this header here, as well as the age, etc. As we jump in and we will work just kind of from left to right. We'll first look at the angel number. The angel number is going to be your family number, in this case of Harper. She is a member of family BC 100, and in the system, she is the first angel. So that's what the A signals. So you can see that there are 3 family members of this family, Harper, Micah, and Tessa, and they go A, B, C. If you add another one, obviously it'll be D, but Tessa will always be family or the angel C in that family. We're going to skip over this actions flag here, and we'll kind of come back and talk through what that looks like. And then obviously the rest of this is fairly self-explanatory, right? The angel status is going to almost universally for right now align with the applicant status. That way you can see. We slided left the intake site, distribution site. We're not going to go into too much of that now because that's covered on our last 2 webinars. Our allocated and allocation required date, you can see as we scroll down, some of them have been allocated already, when they were created. And then at the very end, this is where you're going to start to get some of the nuances that you'll see later. When were the angels last printed? Who is their donor? If we have that information, when it was adopted, and then the sorting status. The sorting status is a part of distribution management toolkit, which is an optional feature, but I highly, I think that's 3 highlies, encourage you to take a look at that. It's going to help your organization. So if you are kind of a type 1 personality who really likes organization and numbers and data and things like that, the sorting and distribution management is going to give you that visibility that you're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and then let's circle back to these actions here. These actions, let's call these quick actions to be able to see. They are links, they're pop-ups. If we're going to work from right to left. Obviously, red X means we're going to delete. And so for some reason, you go in and you need to remove Harper or remove Micah, you can simply click that X to delete that angel. That does not change the status of the applicant. It does not affect the other angels. You are only managing Harper in this case. It's think of it as a shortcut that keeps you from having to go all the way into the applicant to be able to make those changes. This edit pencil allows me to edit the wishes and needs of the angel without having to go in. This is something that a lot of people miss, especially as you're doing some cleanup. And so if you want to go in and add, and you'll see all the lists here, all the available fields. If you want to make some tweaks and maybe you print an angel and you see that this child asked for an iPad and that's not something that's allowable, rather than having to go into the applicant, open the angel, click the edit pencil, save, you've got 5 clicks. We can do that right here from this page to be able to edit that information. And the last thing here is if you want to jump straight to this applicant, rather than having to go back to the applicant page and filtering on family BC 100, that's this last icon here, which is going to simply open in a new tab this applicant in question, right? So you're going to jump in and be able to jump straight to that applicant. So that's how your angel records are formatted and how they're set up. Now, as we scroll down on the page, you'll see a few things that maybe you don't see on every report. Some of which are these check boxes on the side that I'll touch base on in just a minute. But as we scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to see these options that you can, for the purposes of printing angels, for managing angels, for handling all those components. Now, you'll see that in this case, some boxes can be clicked And when I click those boxes, it says what I'm able to do, right? Unadopt angels is not an available option because in this case, Elena has not been adopted, right? But I can do everything else. And you'll notice that here, this checkbox is disabled. This is a question we get a lot. These checkboxes are disabled because the family is not in a status of admin approved. Admin approved is kind of the magical last gate that opens up so many options that you can do with the family, that you can do with the angel. And when it comes to angel management, this status is really important. You can't print angels until those applicants are in a status of admin approved. You can't allocate those angels, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And so this is why that's disabled. So if we want to be able to print Jordan's angel tag, we have to update that applicant's status to be admin approved. The easiest way to do that from here is I just click that icon we did before. I can jump over, click admin approve. We have these warnings. We talked about this warning in our webinar last week. I'll confirm that admin approve, close, and then I can just jump straight back to my report. I'll refresh my page. And once I refresh that page and I scroll back to the bottom, you can now see that Jordan's checkbox is available. Apologies there. And so let's talk about what these options are at the very bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and select just the bottom three here. We'll select these three, and we'll go from left to right. The sticker labels is what we touched on these base last year, but these are labels that are intended to be printed on an Avery size sheet, right? In this case, a 3.5 by 5 or a 2 by 4. And this is used often when locations use plastic bags, when people use other components like that, that rather than having to tape a piece of paper onto a bag or use a marker, you can print these out, and you can see samples here of what they look like to be printed out. And so I can take a bag, I can slap this sticker on there, and I can see right off the bat everything that this child asks for in case you need to do some supplemental filling of the bag because you've got certain standards, but these are designed to be printed on those angel bags. And this also follows the settings that you have. So if you don't print the angel first name on these angel bags, it will also follow that same. This name will be blank, and you'll just see male age 5. We'll touch base on what that means here in a minute. But those are you'll see sticker labels. You're going to see that in both the applicant and the angel management section. The next here is our angel tag. And one thing I hear from the 900 plus campaigns across the United States is that the printing of the angel tags is one of their favorite features of the module. It's because it just makes it so easy. Now, these selections on the side are those that I've elected to print. In this case, if I click print angel tags, it'll say, hey, just so you know, you're going to print these 3 angels. It's going to be the standard template, which is the default for most campaigns. If you have a custom tag that you've built, or if you use one of a few of the other built-in tag templates, that'll be clarified there. And then you have the barcodes. The barcodes, you have to include the barcodes if you want to use the check-in, check-out, the barcode scanning. If you want to use the distribution management toolkit, this barcode is going to help you significantly to cut down on your time. It's a really inexpensive item that you can get from Amazon for around $30 to $35. It removes a lot of human error, right? When we go to type in these family codes, you're not going to accidentally push a 1 instead of a 2, and it's going to help you track those really easily. But once I'm ready, I'll click print angel tags, and what the system is doing is it's grabbing the outside data and pulling it together. Oh, apologies, I clicked download. I wanted to click print to show you what this looks like. And it looks like this, right? It's pretty basic. As it builds out, it's going to grab all the data that's available for the angels that's allowed to be printed. And I'll clarify that here in just 1 second. But you want to be careful for those of you that process, 1,000 angels, 1,500 angels, You know, if you're like Phoenix, who does 24,000, or Texas, who does 38,000, one thing you're not going to be able to do is simply print all of your angels in one at one stage. Now that's speak for a few reasons. Some of it's security, some of it's just how much data you're trying to aggregate together. And so you'll want to do this. We typically advise that you do this in 100 batches. So you'll print the bag, you'll print them like this. It'll go into a PDF, and then you print it straight on your cardstock, whether that's cardstock from trade, cardstock from that you custom print in your local area because you have a sponsor or things along those lines. This is what that would look like there. And you would just work that through and you print it. Now, if I come back to my Angel records and I scroll back down, I'll refresh, you'll now see that these angels have been printed today at 11:12 a.m. So it allows you to show when the last time those angels were printed. So if there was a question about, I don't want to reprint angels and circulate them multiple times, you can see when they were printed. There's a few other things here that we can talk about. We'll talk about allocations there a little bit later, but I want to talk briefly about forgotten angels, because this is something that has come up periodically. And in the system, we have two different types of forgotten angels. As you know, this module has been around, I think, just a little bit over 10 years. We're getting really close to that 10-year mark. And forgotten angels has kind of morphed from the very beginning. The initial Forgotten Angels looked like this, and it's still available to you should you wish to do this, but under Angels, Forgotten Angels, I'll open that in a new tab, we have the option to print a generic, obviously forgotten angel to the public. So if I just need a male age 5 to 7 and I want to print those, it just looks like this, right? It's something that let me go ahead and zoom in here because it's a little bit tiny. It shows Forgotten Angel. It's obviously communicating to the public that the gift you are giving is not going to a specific child. These are just kind of some general ideas, some general suggestions, but they're used to help a child in the Angel Tree program that was not adopted, or maybe that was adopted and not returned for one reason or another. So this is the generic Forgotten Angel, but what we've learned over time is that when it comes from a donor perspective, sometimes they don't necessarily, they're not as responsive to these types of generic requests for angels. And so you have the option of creating what would appear to be a more unique angel tag, and also one that aligns better with your community based on their needs and things along those lines. And you can do that from that Angel Records page. So we'll jump back. We'll follow the exact same process we did before, where we'll select the last three. But instead of clicking Print Angel Tags, I'm going to print Forgotten Angels. If I print Forgotten Angels, see, it all looks exactly the same. The big difference is when it prints. Rather than having all the information is exactly the same for Mateo, Elena, and Jordan. The barcodes are still there. The key thing is the family code. Rather than having BC100A or things along those lines, it's going to simply say FA for Forgotten Angel. So as that angel gets returned to your warehouse, to your operation, you'll know that this angel that's coming in is not necessarily tied to a specific angel, but rather to is Forgotten Angels, and can be used in a supplemental fashion, can be used to fill angels that weren't returned. But this is a way for you to create an angel tag, a Forgotten Angel tag that looks very similar. One thing that we talked about last week that I'll just touch on very briefly is Forgotten Angels cannot be allocated online. We have a separate tool called Replica Angels, and that's a whole different thing. We talked about it last week on applicant management. But if you're interested in that, there is a small, because there's some additional custom work that has to happen to get those established. It's a fairly nominal fee. But if you're interested in Replica Angels because you need additional angels that you can put online for adoption, whether that be assigning it to a sponsored allocation or being able to simply put it in a general sense online, right? So this is Replica Angels. If you're interested in that, reach out to support. We'll give you clarity. We'll talk about some strategy. That actually might be a really good question for this afternoon at 3 o'clock. If you are wondering if Replica Angels are right for you, go ahead and ask that question for this afternoon at 3 o'clock. And so that's how you operate and handle these angels. So we're going to skip over check-in angels because we want to jump now to one other thing that we get asked a lot that was built 2 or 3 years ago. We're really excited about, and that is trying to identify angel duplicates. As I've mentioned before on a webinar, I was an officer in the Southern Territory for a little over 7 years. And a saying that was shared with me when I was in training is that you have to help the greedy to get to the needy. And we all understand that there are going to be people that maybe try to circumvent the system to be able to get more gifts for a child through one way or another. And one thing that gets asked a lot is, how is there an easy way for us to be able to identify potential duplicates? Now, a duplicate doesn't mean that the person's being nefarious. It doesn't mean that they are intentionally trying to circumvent the system to get additional gifts. Sometimes it's just the case of mom and dad don't live together and they signed up independently. Well, depending on your rules, your business rules, the things you put into place will determine how you handle those. To check angel duplicates, we're going to scroll up to the top of the page and we're going to go down to angel duplicates. Now, when I go down to angel duplicates, you're first going to have to select your comparison criteria, right? We want to give you some flexibility. We don't necessarily, we don't collect unique identifiers for the children, right? We don't capture social security numbers that we can just bounce those two numbers up against each other so to be able to determine. So there has to be a little bit of exploration and a little bit of a puzzle solving as you figure that out. And so at the top here, you're going to look at your comparison criteria. And then in this, there are 5 options, forgive me. And we highly advise that you simply keep the default option, which is to compare first name, last name, gender, and date of birth. Those are the 4 data points that are available. And then the 4 beneath that are simply combinations in 3 of the 4 options. As you can imagine, a common name, a member of the long member of the team, Eduardo Rodriguez, might be a common name. And so if you simply look at the first name, last name, gender, there's probably a good number of Eduardo Rodriguez's who are male. And so by adding the date of birth, by adding that additional data point, you're able to refine that list in a more effective manner as a way to find those duplicates. But ultimately it's up to you. Just understand, if you choose one of these bottom options, you're going to get more options that you may need to kind of siphon through. The other thing you have to do is you have to choose the campaign that you want to select. It defaults to just your campaign, but maybe you want to grab some neighboring areas. Maybe I'm here in the Louisville area. Maybe I want to include Sherman, which is outside the DFW area, but it's close enough that you might have people and family members living in those 2 areas. There are certain limitations, again, as we're analyzing data and doing all those things. The more you select and the lower your criteria, the more options you're going to get, and the longer it's going to take to generate the report. But once you're done, you're going to click continue. And in this case, in our demo site here, we have 2 potential duplicates. We have a Sophia Ramirez, born on December 3rd, 2012, that appear in 2 different families, Vanessa Ramirez and John Ramirez. And then we have a Jordan Coleman that appears in 2. You see the angel status, the campaign, in case you include other campaigns, the intake location, in case if you're like Nashville and you've got lots of different intake sites, and you can give that clarity. But when you're ready to take action, what you're going to do is click action. Now, when I open that, let's touch base on here just a few minutes. You're going to be able to see the information about the potential duplicates. You're going to see the name and the angel of those that you're comparing between the 2. Now, remember what I said before, blue is clickable. If you want to dig deeper into one of these applicants, simply click the header here, and it's going to open that applicant in a new tab. So if you wanted to dig deeper into their address and maybe their other household members, you would click that header there. So now I want to look at John's application. I can click this and it'll open up John's. So again, this is a way for you to be able to handle and manage these angels. So that's there at the top. And then at the very bottom, you have 6 different options. We'll kind of work our way from the outside in. You can say, guys, I've looked at this. It's a non-duplicate. I don't need to worry about it. It's just a coincidence that there's 2 Sophia Ramirez's with the same birth date. I can also decline all applicants. I can say, we've dealt with these people before. They constantly try to work the system. Unfortunately, we're going to decline all the applicants. And then you have the granularity of these 2 individuals, of the 2 applicants. The first 2 options here is you can say, I'm not going to decline either of the applicants. I don't want to do anything to the applicant itself. I just want to remove Sophia from one of the 2. Maybe you called the applicant themselves and they said, oh, we didn't know that. Please remove them from John's or remove them from Vanessa's. It's our apologies. If that's the case, I'll select what I want to do. In this case, I want to remove Sophia from Vanessa's applications, and she is here at the top. So I'll go ahead and select this top one. Below that, I can say up, or if I want to go back and forth. The second option is to say it's a genuine duplicate. Mom and dad lived together, but they just signed up independently. They were both took the initiative to sign up. Again, not nefarious in any intentional way, but we can just say, well, listen, we're going to decline the entire applicant. Now, once you select your option, in this case, we're going to remove Sophia from this family here at the top. When I'm ready, I click next, and I'm going to put in a decision, like a comment, something that's going to signal to me why I made this decision. This family, registered twice by accident. All right, well, I'll say why this happened. I'll click proceed. Now, once I've done so, you'll see a couple things. You'll say, whoa, where did this go? I don't know where it went. Well, that's because this angel duplicate report is intentionally saying, we want this to be 0. We want to be able to go in here and see 20 duplicates become 10 duplicates, become 1 duplicate, and be empty. That way, when I come in, I don't have to go through and genuinely analyze whether or not a decision has been made. But maybe you say, well, man, I want to see the decisions that have been made. Up in my filter here at the top, you'll see the very first option says include duplicates where a decision has been made. So once I do that, you can see here that Sophia's record returns, and you see that there's a little icon here. So I can click on this and see what decision was made and that comment I added. So let's say if you're an officer and you've got someone on your team that's doing this and you want to just double check a couple things, go back through, this is a way for you to see what takes place. So you're able to go through and see those decisions. If you utilize an outside, if you line up with a neighboring campaign, you can't affect that campaign, right? So if I tie to Sherman and I say, listen, I want to remove them, I can't remove them from Sherman's campaign. I can only manipulate the data or deal with the applicant as a part of my campaign. In fact, I can't even get into the applicant detail page of the neighboring campaign. If you choose to bring on and look at a neighboring campaign that's not your own, and you want to do some research, you're going to have to contact the caseworker, the social service director, the officer of that campaign to do your research to determine whether or not you want to how you want to handle that. If you genuinely believe it's a duplicate and someone's signed up for Angel Tree twice in 2 different areas. I'll pause here just as a quick reminder. Remember your Q&A sections, put them in there. Our team will answer them, and then we'll have an open forum here at the end for you to be able to ask questions, as we've done with our last few webinars. So that's our angel duplicates. The next thing we want to talk about is if printing angels are the #1 thing, the nature of a sponsored angel allocation is probably the second favorite thing across the entire module. And those are angels that are managed under angels allocation. So let's talk about a couple things that you see here on this page. You are going to see all of your sponsored angel allocations. Now, I've seen this a lot, and I want to talk about what a sponsored angel allocation is and what it isn't. A sponsored angel allocation is intended to be a business who is wanting to adopt numerous angels and then have them be adopted by people of which they have influence over, right? You might see, in this case, First Community Bank, which wants 250 angels, Smithville Chevrolet, which wants 8 angels, or maybe a realtor. This is not where you want to go if Jeff Marquis wants to adopt 3 angels. Like that, this is not that interface to do so. Some people have massive sponsored allocation angel lists, and so many of them have 1, 2, 3 angels. We'll talk about what it means to check out an angel and give someone 3 angels if someone wants to adopt 3. But this is not where we want it to go, where you want to handle that. By all means, you can. There's nothing that says in the system you can't, that you want to be able to, that you can't create a sponsored allocation for someone who wants 2 angels. But that's not how this was intended to be managed. And some of you have really long sponsored angel lists. By all means, you can do that if you want, but again, that's not how it was intended. So let's go ahead and let's create a new sponsored angel allocation. So when I jump in, the first thing I'm going to do is who do I want, what's my group name? And so we'll just do myself because I can type my name pretty fast. It's going to be Marquis Realty. I'm a realtor. I want to adopt 30 angels, and then I'm going to send out information to all the people that work with me, all the people that bought homes from me, to be able to adopt these angels. Your contact name is Jeff Marquis. My email is jmarquis@email.com. My phone number, that's not my real number. Don't call it. My contact address here, right? I'll live at 123 Main Street. I live in Louisville. You guys can know where I live. I'm happy to share that. I live in Louisville, Texas. You might wonder why someone from Louisville, Texas wants to sponsor angels from Bay City, Michigan, but I'm a Centralite at heart. I grew up in the Chicago area, and I'm just dreaming of 75-degree weather days. As yesterday, I tried to take my kids for a walk, but it was 105, so I had to take a break. As I work my way down, I'll put in my zip code. The next thing here, approved drop-off sites. So this is a thing that gets communicated when they adopt an angel, especially online. If you want them for this location to drop off angels at this drop-off site. In this case, we have 1 configured, but I can, if I want to select them, I can. If not, I can simply include all drop-off sites for that location. This is for information purposes only. Are we going to pick up these angels, or are they going to drop them off at one of these distribution sites? These are distribution sites that you're seeing here. Well, we're going to pick up this gifts. They're going to pick them up for me. They're going to pick them up on Friday, let's say the Friday after Thanksgiving, right? What time are we going to pick them up? They're going to come by 2:00 p.m. And any notes that I want to include for the purpose of this adoption, please drive to the back of the building. Call Jeff when you arrive, right? So I can share this because that way I can go on, I can export my sponsored angel allocation, and as people are going around as they're doing that, I can give that to be able to update that as needed. As I scroll down here, you'll see the option to allow online adoptions. Now it defaults to no, but Jeff is a realtor. He needs to be able to circulate this information outside, and some people live an hour away from Jeff, but he wants them to be able to adopt the angels as a part of his virtual angel tree, if we put it that way. In that case, I'm going to mark allow online adoptions. So it's been enabled. So once they're sponsored, then how many angels do I want? I'm going to say I want 30 angels, and I have to have those angels to me because I do a big event as a part of the Halloween weekend. So I have to have those angels allocated by October 26th. So this is kind of the default information, but I do want to highlight a couple things here at the bottom. If you can choose to enforce additional filter criteria. And there are 3 ways you can enforce it. I can enforce a gender criteria, right? I can choose to enforce, maybe this is a Girl Scout troop, so I only want females to be a part of that, and I want their ages to be of a Girl Scout age. Now, I have 3 boys, so I have no idea the ages of a Girl Scout, but let's pretend that a Girl Scout is age 7 to 14. You can clarify it in the Q&A if you tell me what those angels are. But that's how I can enforce those gender criteria. But the last thing that some people don't do is they don't clarify the distribution sites. So I'm going to zoom out here just so you can see that there at the bottom. But I have the ability to clarify the distribution sites. Now remember, I'll remove that clarification. But every angel has a distribution site. And I want you to picture the DFW area where you've got Dallas County and Denton County and Tarrant County and Collin County and all these different places. And if I'm a realtor and I live in Louisville, which is in Denton County, it's going to be a logistical challenge for the DFW area if all my angels come from the fort that are going to be distributed at the Fort Worth warehouse, because I live in Louisville. Guess where I'm going to return my angels? I'm going to return my angels to the Louisville Salvation Army, which means they're going to be having to bring a truck, pick up all those angels from the Corps, and drive them all the way down to the Fort Worth warehouse. Wouldn't it be easier if I just said, listen, only give me angels where the distribution site is the Louisville Corps? Right? So if I only have those angels, if I have that criteria, then when those angels get allocated to me and they get returned, they're already where they need to go. Now, will I still return them to the wrong place? Maybe even probably, if you know me too well. But in the end, it helps to kind of narrow those down, especially for those commands that cover a really broad coverage area, right? I did this in my last appointment. We covered Martin, St. Lucie, and Okeechobee. Okeechobee was an hour drive away. And not only that, but the people who were sponsored angel allocation from Okeechobee wanted to adopt angels from Okeechobee. And this tool allowed me to say, yes, all the angels that you are getting, Rotary Club of Okeechobee, are from the Okeechobee community, right? So this is a way that's under enforce additional criteria. I can answer some questions about that, but for right now, I'm going to remove all of that because Jeff is a wide open adopter. And so we're going to go ahead and get that squared away. And when I'm done, I'll click Save. Once I'm done, it adds it in here. You can see the return date, the notes that are available, how many I've requested versus how many I've actually fulfilled. Now, how do I fulfill these angels? I do that by clicking these green arrows here. If I need to edit any of my sponsored allocations, I just click the edit pencil, which reopens this, and maybe I mistyped a number. Maybe I've clarified that you don't want to talk to Jeff, you want to talk to somebody else at my office, and maybe you have a different number, different email, etc. So we'll be able to, let me confirm that cancel because I'm backing out. When I come here to update allocation, I can do this in one of 2 ways. Remember, I talked about updating allocations earlier. The first way to do that is through this feature here. So when I click that, it's going to bring up a page that looks like this. Now, anytime you see something in yellow in the Angel Tree module, it's saying, hey, look here, you need to do something. So the first thing I'm going to do is select how I'm going to order my angels. Maybe you want to allocate angels based on the order in which they came in. So I'm going to sort by angel number. And at that point, it's going to go literally in numeric order from 101 all the way up to 6003. And I've asked for 30 now. We don't have hundreds and hundreds of angels in this demo site. So it's given me as many as I can. There are 18 possibilities, and they've given me 18 of them. And it by default selects them. Now, I'm able to go in, and if I click this, see how they're changing, right? It's a way for me to go through and get things squared away. If I want to just grab the top 8, I can click and drag, right? And then I'm able to do more. Or if I want to jump around and grab specific ones, why you do that, this interface, that's kind of up to you. There's a better way to do what we're going to show here in a second. I can use Command or Control if you're on a PC, and I can select different boxes here. And when I've selected my angels, I click go to the bottom, add to allocation. And when I do, they shift over here. If I want to remove them, I simply click these two, remove from allocation, and then they become back available on the other side, right? So I can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth as much as necessary. Once I click close, I'm brought back and you'll see that these numbers are updated, right? I've asked for 30, I've got 3, I've got 10% allocated. Now there's none adopted yet, but that's because we haven't circulated it yet. But we can see at the bottom this campaign summary that so far of the angels asked, we've only fulfilled 1.28% of them, or 4 of 308. So this is how you'll go on and kind of see your progress, your status. One other thing on the Marquis Realty adoption page, remember we said we want to be able to circulate this online. I want to be able to circulate the URL of this adoption site. Because when angels get allocated to Marquis Realty, they are no longer available to the general adoption site. So I can do that in one of two ways. I can click this box here at the very end, which will open the adoption site. It's branded there right at the top. It's the Bay City Core Community Angel Tree adoption site, and it's Marquis Realty in case there are any questions. And then I have the ability to adopt my angels, right? I can say male or female. I can say what are the ages that I want to show. I can say all ages. And when I go through, I'll be able to go and select my angels as I wish. We have a setting in our online adoption, which we talked about during campaigns, that says you can only adopt 2 at a time, right? And it also says, hey, if you're a company, church, or school that want more than 2, contact the contact number, which again is in the campaign settings. So this is a way if you've got one of your sponsored angels, if Marquis Realty simply just wanted to go online and grab 30 angels, there's a better way to do that. So I can simply circulate that URL. I can also get that URL by clicking in the edit pencil we showed before and coming down here. Here's the URL here. All right. So this is an easy way for us to be able to confirm that. The only other thing I'll mention on this page is how do I allocate angels to the online adoption? And that is here through the online component. In this point, I don't have the green arrows, right? Because here's my online interface, but I haven't said how many I want to allocate. Even though it's the general public, it's not going to simply make it a completely open door. I still want to clarify how many angels that I want to drop off and what are their drop-off sites. So in this case, I'm going to come in, I'm simply going to say, we're going to start with 500, and then we'll go through, and then all the rest of the process is exactly the same. The only difference is obviously you're not managing contact names and numbers, etc. There's one other icon that's on this page, and that looks like this little notebook. This is something that happens frequently with sponsored angel allocations. Is they want to know how are we doing, right? Or what angels do we have? So once I allocate my angels to here, let's say Marquis Realty wants to be able to have printed angels as well as an online adoption. The easiest way to do that is to come here, and when I click this angel report, it's going to bring me to the angel report filtered against the Marquis Realty that have been allocated. When I'm ready, I just come over here, click the top button, and then I can print those angels as needed. Another way to do this, and I'll talk about this here, is I can check in those angels. We can say, they were picked up. They're all checked in. I'm going to check in all of the angels from Marquis Realty. I'll come here. I'll mark them as check in. I can further select and unselect if Malachi wasn't there. And when I'm done, I simply click submit. And now that angel goes from a status of admin approved here. See how Chloe's admin approved, not been allocated. And then you have Carter, who is allocated but not been adopted. And then when they get checked in, you'll see that Bennett has been fulfilled. So this is a way for you to become in. Again, you're sorting management is going to help you get even a bit more granular. If you ever want to know, we've got 100 bags, but I need 12 of them need additional gifts. You can do that in the distribution management toolkit. Here, you can just say whether or not the angel has been checked in or checked out. The only other thing that I'm going to touch base on here, the last thing as it relates to angel management, is the check-in, check-out procedure. So I'm going to quickly just copy this for ease. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to launch the check-in, check-out process. So we're going to check out angels. And this is for those locations that have a manned booth where people come and get physical tags, right? So there's kind of 3 methods for angel adoption. There's the, cast a net and just hope the ones that get picked up get brought back, right? So that's your Walmart angel tags, or maybe your mall if it's unmanned. In my last appointment, the mall that was that had the angel tree, our women's auxiliary manned that booth. And instead of keeping a box here on the side, instead of doing that, I'm going to come through and be able to get squared away. But I can select my adoption site. I can enter in the code manually. When I do, scanner enter 1 angel at a time. So when I'm done, I'll enter that. So if one person comes by and grabs 3 angels off the tree, I can go ahead and maybe they got A as well, right? Oh, it's already been fulfilled, right? Because that's one of the ones we booked up. If I type in the wrong number, it'll go through and I can add additional angels as needed. The nice thing here is I'm able to grab their donor information. This is a big thing that people miss, and I'm just going to take a quick side step here for about 90 seconds. And all of you, every single person on this call in some form or another, pay money to your fundraising mechanism. That's one and all. Whoever is the flavor of the week now, but you pay money for donor acquisition. All right, being able to gather those donors' information. So often we get donors, people who know what the Salvation Army does and love what the Salvation Army does, at least enough to be able to adopt an angel, gather the donor information, and then hand that list off to your development department for follow-up. How do I transition someone from an angel tree donor to a fiscal donor, right? Bringing in that income, like gathering that information. I know that the AOK division of the Southern Territory is doing some fun things with QR codes printed on an angel tag that captures this information from that kind of wide net donor, right? Getting as much of this donor information as I can to be able to capture and be able to handle that. But in the end, I can go ahead and check those out. I can also check those angels back in to be able to say that they're fulfilled. That is angel management in a nutshell, and I really try to keep my information to about 45 minutes.